Hi, I'm Captain Arnold Hardy from the California Highway Patrol. Autonomous vehicles have the potential to make our roads safer, and the first step for us as first responders is to understand how to interact with them. Waymo, an autonomous driving technology company, is operating a ride-hailing service in our community, and the following video shares important information for any first responder who works where Waymo's autonomous Jaguar I-PACE fleet operates. This instructional first responder video will tell you what you need to know to interact safely with Waymo's vehicles. We'll see the similarities and differences between the Waymo Driver, Waymo's autonomous driving technology that operates its vehicles, and human-driven vehicles. Please take a few minutes and focus on the information. It is important to your safety, the safety of Waymo passengers, and our community. Now I'd like to pass it over to the Waymo team.
Hi, I'm Rob Patrick, Waymo's first responder specialist, and a retired law enforcement executive with over 30 years of experience. I'm pleased to be your host for this instructional video. Waymo began as Google's self-driving car project in 2009, with the goal of making our roads safer and improving mobility for everyone. Now, after tens of millions of miles of autonomous driving on public roads, Waymo continues to develop and improve for a future where transportation is safer, easier, and more accessible for all. So let's dive in and get to know Waymo. The Waymo Driver is autonomous, which means it can handle all the functions of driving on the road without a human driver. The Waymo Law Enforcement Interaction Protocol and Emergency Response Guide provide first responders with critical information about interacting with our vehicles. These resources can be located at waymo.com/first responders. Let's take you through, in detail, some key lessons that are outlined in these resources. Waymo has trained thousands of first responders across the country. Over the course of these training sessions, certain common questions have surfaced which are discussed in the resources previously mentioned. Let's address a few of those now. I'm here today with firefighter Laurel Strickland from the San Francisco Fire Department, Officers Wayne Locke and Dominic Busalaki of the San Francisco Police Department, along with Captain Hardy, to help us address some of these questions.
Rob, Waymo's been around for a long time, but we're starting to see other autonomous vehicles on the road too. How do I identify a Waymo vehicle?
The Waymo autonomous Jaguar I-PACE can be easily identified by the white color of the base vehicle or the fender additions.
I've definitely seen the Waymo vehicles while driving around. How do they respond to emergency vehicles?
The Waymo vehicle uses sensors to identify emergency vehicles by detecting their appearance, their sirens, and their emergency lights. The Waymo vehicle is designed to yield appropriately to these vehicles, regardless of which way they're traveling. If a Waymo autonomous vehicle detects that an emergency vehicle is behind it and emergency lights are activated, the Waymo vehicle is designed to pull over and stop when it finds a safe place to do so.
What happens if a first responder needs to communicate with a Waymo vehicle?
In a law enforcement interaction, the vehicle can unlock doors and roll down windows for Waymo's rider support team to communicate with responders. In these situations, Waymo's rider support specialists have protocols for interacting with responders and vehicle passengers by providing information through in-vehicle speakers, the in-vehicle displays, and communicating with passengers through in-vehicle telecommunications capabilities. If needed, a Waymo support team will be dispatched to provide on-scene assistance for passengers and responders. Should you encounter a Waymo vehicle that is unoccupied and rider support isn't using the vehicle speakers to communicate with you, there are two ways to contact Waymo rider support for assistance. First is the dedicated first responder hotline at 1-877-503-0840. Or you can activate in-vehicle rider support by pushing the DISP button on the center console.
Where can I find the vehicle's documentation?
2 physical copies of vehicle owner information, vehicle registration, proof of insurance, and the number for the dedicated first responder hotline are stored inside each autonomous vehicle. These identical sets of documents can be located attached to the driver and passenger sun visor.
Will the vehicle drive away during my interaction?
The vehicle won't drive autonomously while any of the following are true. Any door is open, the vehicle's in park, the parking brake is applied, or any airbags are deployed. It is a best practice to open a door unless power has been disconnected or the vehicle's been shifted into manual mode.
How do I move the vehicle in an emergency situation?
To put the car in manual mode, you'll have to contact Waymo Rider Support so they can authorize you to drive the vehicle. We'll demonstrate how to do that now.
Hi, this is Rachel with Waymo Rider Support. How can I help you?
This is San Francisco Fire Department. I need to put the car in manual mode.
Okay, can you please get into the vehicle and access the steering wheel?
Okay, I have access to the steering wheel now.
I've authorized the vehicle so that you can switch it into manual mode. To do so, you're going to need to press 2 of the buttons on the steering wheel. Do you see the cluster of buttons on the right side of the steering wheel?
Yes, I see them.
Great. Next, to engage manual mode, press the center button in that cluster, followed by the right button in that cluster.
Okay, I did that.
Now let's confirm that the car is in manual. Place your foot on the brake and try to switch gears. If you can, the car is in manual mode.
Okay, that worked. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Our Waymo roadside assistance team should be arriving now in case you need additional assistance.
Let's recap what we've learned so far. Waymo vehicles are designed to recognize lights and sirens and yield to emergency vehicles. Waymo's rider support can communicate with first responders using the vehicle speakers and can unlock any doors if needed. There are 2 ways to contact Waymo rider support: by calling our 24/7 dedicated hotline at 1-877-503-0840, or you can press the DISP button on the center console. The vehicle must be placed in manual mode before you can operate the vehicle, including turning the vehicle on or off, shifting gears, applying or releasing the parking brake, and driving the vehicle to reposition it. Remember, you must contact Waymo Rider Support to shift the vehicle into manual mode. In addition to helping you put the vehicle in manual mode, Waymo will dispatch its roadside assistants if they're not already there. Remember that the Waymo vehicle's registration, insurance information, and copies of the required state permits are located behind the sun visors, along with the dedicated first responder number to contact Waymo. Now let's shift gears and address some topics I know firefighters are interested in. First, remember most of the precautions you use for other vehicles still apply, such as chocking and blocking the vehicle to ensure it does not move. One thing that may be very different though, an autonomous vehicle may or may not have occupants, or might only have occupants in the rear seats. So responders should check all seating positions when responding to an incident involving an autonomous vehicle. Now let's take a look at some things that are not unique to Waymo, like how to disable power on an electric vehicle in an emergency. Like all electric vehicles, the Jaguar I-PACE has both high and low voltage power. Before we consider doing a disconnect, there's a few extrication considerations while the vehicle still has power. So think about whether you need to unlock any doors, lower any windows, move some seats, open the rear lift gate, or apply or disengage the parking brake. To disconnect the 12-volt power, make sure to cut and remove a segment of the cable in 2 cut locations identified by yellow cut loop tags. The first one to disconnect is the negative pole of the battery, and the second one to disconnect is the 12-volt battery from the DC-DC converter. There are 2 separate 12-volt batteries. One is the same as all other Jaguar I-PACEs. It's located under the hood on the passenger side. The other is located in the trunk. This battery is isolated from the rest of the 12-volt system and provides redundant power for Waymo's self-driving systems only. This battery does not provide power to the airbags. Both batteries are disconnected by cutting the negative leads. The cut locations are clearly identified with bright yellow cut loop tags. When disabling power, you should also remove the high voltage service disconnect to ensure high and low voltage power are fully disabled. The manual service disconnect is located beneath the access cover under the left rear seat cushion. Okay, let's review. The all-electric Jaguar I-PACE has both high and low voltage power. Under the hood is the location for disconnecting 12-volt power. Remove the battery cover and cut the cables in 2 locations where you see the yellow cut loop tags. Remember to make a double cut to ensure the wire does not reattach. There are 2 12-volt batteries in the I-PACE. One is just like all other Jaguar I-PACE vehicles. That one's under the hood on the passenger side. The other 12-volt battery is in the trunk area. This battery supplies backup power to the Waymo self-driving systems only. It does not provide power to the airbags. Make double cuts to cut the negative leads on both batteries. Yellow cut loop tags indicate where to cut. When disconnecting power, don't forget to also disconnect power via the master service disconnect located under the left rear seat cushion. Now that we've looked at how to disable power to Waymo's Jaguar I-PACE vehicle in an emergency, let's take a look at some important extrication considerations. When it comes to cut zones, there's only one difference between this and other Jaguar I-PACE electric-powered vehicles. The C-pillars each contain lines used to clean the rooftop sensors. A line running up the driver's side C-pillar contains air, and a line running up the passenger side C-pillar contains wiper fluid. Should you need to do a roof removal, expect some air and wiper fluid to leak in these areas. Let's review how to respond to extrication scenarios. Remember to use standard protective equipment, just as you always would. The extrication cut zones are similar to all other Jaguar I-PACE vehicles. The only significant difference is the lines used to clean the rooftop sensors that run up through each C-pillar. The driver's C-pillar contains a line with air, and the passenger C-pillar contains a line with wiper fluid. If you're doing a roof removal, expect some air and wiper fluid leaks when cutting in these locations. Next, let's talk about firefighting tactics relating to an electric vehicle. We have firefighter Laurel Strickland from the San Francisco Fire Department to describe best practices.
Thanks, Rob. We want to take this time to remind all first responders that working with Waymo's Jaguar I-PACE will be similar to working with all other electric vehicles. We're going to use lots of water to cool the battery pack. We're going to monitor the heat changes with our thermal imaging camera. And if the high voltage battery has been damaged, we want to make sure we store the vehicle away from all other combustibles.
Remember that the Waymo vehicle is similar to all other electric vehicles when it comes to firefighting. Cool the battery pack with large amounts of water. Use thermal imaging to monitor any changes. As with all hybrid and electric vehicles, if the battery pack has been damaged, don't store the vehicle near other combustibles. In this video, we've looked at how to identify Waymo autonomous vehicles and how to work with Waymo's rider support to change the vehicle from autonomous to manual mode. We've also learned how to contact Waymo rider support from inside the vehicle, how to turn it off, and how to disable electric power in an emergency. We've discussed how to handle the vehicle after an incident. As always, remember to take necessary safety precautions just as you would with any vehicle. Remember to refer to Waymo law enforcement interaction protocols and emergency response guide for more details about working with Waymo vehicles. These resources can be found at waymo.com/first responders. I'd like to thank Captain Hardy, Firefighter Strickland, and Officers Locke and Busalaki. And thank you to the California Highway Patrol, San Francisco Fire Department, and the San Francisco Police Department for partnering with us on this training. Autonomous driving technology holds the potential to make our roads safer. We hope you've learned something today that will help you confidently interact with these vehicles. Thank you for taking the time to learn how to work with Waymo. Stay safe out there and enjoy the ride.